White Bear Town Board meeting to order for May 30th, 2024.
20.
May 20th, 2024. All right, all of a sudden I'm getting ahead. First item on the agenda, the approval of the agenda. Patrick?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you should have received late this afternoon an amended agenda which adds item 5G under consent agenda, a special town board meeting called for May 30th. Other than that, there were no additions or subtractions.
Board have anything?
I do not. No.
All right, hearing none, I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll move to approve the amended agenda provided.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And motion carries. Item 3 is payment of the bills. Steve, you done with it?
Yes, I signed off. Move to approve payment of the bills.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Item 4 is approval of the minutes from May 6, 2024. Anybody have any changes?
I could look at if I wrote anything down from the, before we go. I saw nothing. I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, item 5 is the consent agenda. We got 7 of them. Anybody want to pull them and talk to them, or are we good?
I'm good.
I will move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
All right, motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, moving on. Item 6 is old business. We have none. So we're going to go right to item 7. This is a public hearing. This is for Gary and Kim Delaney and April and Greg Klein, Bald Eagle Avenue. Evan, are you going to take this?
Yeah, if I can get this.
First off, I need to get a motion to waive the reading.
I'll move to waive the reading that was properly published.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then I need a motion to open up public hearing.
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, now you can go, Evan.
Thank you, Chairman. You have a PowerPoint on the TVs in front and behind, depending on your seating location. This will summarize some of the information in your packet before you tonight. We have a variance request to establish a driveway within a side yard setback. The driveway crosses over 2 properties, 5315 and 5305 West Bald Eagle Boulevard. They're both zoned R1, and they are both located in the Shoreline Management Overlay District. 5305 is owned by the Delaney family, and 5315 is owned by the Klein family. So that 5315 has the house on the aerial on the screen before you tonight, and 5305 is shown as the vacant parcel to the south, outlined in red. The variance tonight is being requested in order to allow for a concrete or hard surface driveway to be located within the side yard setback. The minimum side yard setback is 10 feet. The Delaney family is looking to connect their new driveway to the existing driveway that their neighbor has already that crosses partly into their property. Then the neighbor would also, as part of this request, be resurfacing portions of the driveway that have some failing concrete on it. Just a little bit of backstory that was also outlined in your packet here before you tonight. This driveway has predated both of the owners. Going back at least to the 1960s, you can visibly see that this driveway has existed and crossed over both properties. In 2019, the Kleins purchased the 5315 property. In 2021, the town board approved a lot split that created the 5305 and 1 additional property to the south. A home and guest cottage was on that property at that time and were both demolished. And then in 2022, the Delaney's purchased the 5305 property. Before you on the screens is 2 surveys, one from 2017 and one from 2021. They both show that existing driveway crossing from the property to the north onto the property to the south. Moving forward in time, in 2023, the current owners of each property decided to memorialize the driveway through an easement agreement, which established conditions regarding maintenance and use. That easement was then recorded with the county in 2023. In late 2023, the Delaney's reached out to the township and submitted plans for building a home on their property. From there, we have the site plan before you tonight. As you can tell, their new house would have a driveway connect to it. A part of that driveway, as it would connect to that existing driveway, would be within that 10-foot setback, so hence part of the variance request before you tonight. That existing driveway, again, is within that setback, and so in order to maintain or improve that driveway, a variance is also required for that as well. I mean, you can see that the existing driveway then crosses into the right-of-way and then connects to West Bald Eagle Boulevard. Why is there a variance request tonight? Essentially, the setback requirements that apply to any structure, such as a garage or house, also apply to any hard surface driveway. The township has historically allowed gravel driveways to exist within the side setbacks. So if this variance were to be denied tonight, that driveway would have to be gravel. It cannot be any concrete, asphalt, or other hard surface. Part of the reason why this variance is being requested is the county, as this is on Bald Eagle Boulevard and they have jurisdiction on that road, the county has certain requirements on how you can access that road. They only allow one access per residential lot. The Kleins, as you may have noticed, already benefit from that existing driveway. Since they do not want to remove the driveway, the only way to allow the driveway to remain in place is for the driveway to have a foot of it removed so that in the county's eyes it is on the Delaney's property, and so the north end of that driveway would remain and then be considered by the county as the Klein's one driveway access. The portion of the driveway then that is on the Delaney side would be considered their one access according to the county. They also have standards for portions of the driveway within the right-of-way. They would require that to be paved or hard surface of some kind as well. And they also have ditch grading standards as well. Staff did review this a couple months ago before review by the Plan Commission. The building inspector was able to verify the history of the site and some of the past projects regarding gravel driveways throughout the township. Both the engineer and public works director reviewed this, had no issues. The watershed district reviewed this. They had no issues. They issued a permit for the house construction of the site in April of 24. And the county was able to verify their requirements and also noted again that access must be from 5305 and that they would not allow them to access from any other location. The variance criteria are outlined in your staff report before you tonight. Those criteria are met. The real big issue is that this situation was not created by either of the property owners, and therefore this is a unique circumstance that is not created or self-created by either of these property owners. The request was also deemed to be reasonable. It is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan. It would not alter the character of the neighborhood. It would not be an economically motivated request. The Planning Commission did review this prior to it being sent up to the town board for review. They did ultimately recommend approval of the request with the following conditions. One, that the applicant shall be permitted to surface the driveway with asphalt as shown on the plan submitted to the township. Two, the applicant shall adhere to requirements of Ramsey County for portions of the driveway within the right-of-way. Three, the project shall secure any applicable permits. They shall also apply for or comply with any applicable rules and regulations. And then five, the applicant will have to pay any fees or escrows associated with the request. The town board does have the following options tonight. You may approve the request with or without conditions. You may deny the request with findings for denial, or you can ultimately table the request for further review and study. I believe the applicants are here tonight if you do wish to ask them any questions directly.
All right, Steve, any questions of Evan?
No, I sat through the Planning Commission and listened to the both parties as they talked about this, and it seemed to make sense that there are not a lot of alternatives.
Yep.
I have two questions, and you can decide if you guys answer that or maybe the applicant does. The first is, you mentioned the driveway was memorialized in an easement agreement between the Delaneys and the Kleins. let's fast forward 10, 20 years and they sell it to somebody else. Is that easement still going to be in place, or is it's not just an agreement between two parties who may move off in different directions?
I mean, if someone were to move in, that easement would still remain in place. So they would have to agree to vacate said easement in the future.
All right, thank you. The second question I have, I guess, is for you two again, since you were at the planning meeting. I see that there was, the recommendation was unanimous, but there were 2 abstentions. I see that one abstention noted that there was difficulty, and I guess that didn't elaborate much. Any idea why the other abstention was in place?
Do you want to
Do
answer
you
that,
have any
Steve?
insight on that?
Well, again, I've got to look at, the first abstention really was one member who said we do too many variances, and she just thought the county was not being very fair.
She used a different word, but yes, I get that.
Yeah.
But usually that means
Fair
voting no, not abstaining. Usually abstaining means there's some sort of conflict of interest.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at.
There
Thank
was
you.
there was no conflict of interest that I remember. It was more, I just don't want to vote for it. I'm not
That
gonna
I think
deny it.
was a good summation of it.
For both of them?
Yeah.
Okay, well, disappointing, but okay. Those are my questions, thank you.
All right, I guess I would have one for Chad. If, like you say, this agreement between 2 homeowners, how valid is that down the road when both parties are no longer there and there's 2 new parties fighting over this?
Because it's designed to be what's called an pertinent easement. It runs with the land. So it's not personal to the present owners. It's part of the property, so it continues perpetual.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, I was going to say, Chad, could this have been rectified when that property was originally split?
No, because by that time, the real issue here is the driveway that serves, is it 3513? Been there for more than 15 years. They have prescriptive right. That's a property right. It can't be taken away by the town unless the town wanted to condemn it.
But it could have been cleaned up if we would have saw it on the plat division. We could have moved that one lot or moved the center line to get that property line over, so it would have been on their property.
Oh, no, remember, all they have is an easement to use the driveway. They don't actually own the land. So you could have moved the line, and see, I think that's the big problem here. I understand, I read the report, is that Ramsey County will only allow one access. So no matter where you put the line, you're only going to have the one access.
So we could have requested that the line be moved, and Ramsey County could have come back and said, no, you have to disassemble one driveway.
They could have said, well, that's nice, but that's what the town says, but we're telling you only one access point.
Okay, but I'm still confused because the original property then had 2 accesses. Because the
Well-
original property before it was split had a driveway to the southern part and a driveway to the northern part.
Of course, but the problem is that it could do with the age of the old property, how long it had been there. Because one thing we don't know is exactly when Ramsey County instituted this policy of only one access point. And if the old house was there before they instituted that policy, then both access points would have been grandfathered in.
All right, you got anything else?
No.
Scott? No. All right, hearing none, I need a motion to open up for public comment.
I'll move the hearing to open for public comment.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I know both applicants are here. Either one of you folks want to speak to this issue? If you do, you got to come up to the podium, give your name and address.
No, I think it's been well
We
spoken.
need your
of.
name and address for the record.
My name is Gary Delaney, and I am the 5305 address. But no, I think Evan covered it very well, so I'm comfortable with that. We're up all trying to make the best of this situation, and we're just. I don't think it was ideal for anyone, but with the different requirements, we felt like this was the best route to go, and really about the only route to go. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak to it? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public comment.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, if there are no other further questions or discussion, what's the board's pleasure?
I'm going to make a motion to approve the property request for a variance for the hard surface driveway within the 10-foot side yard setback for the Delaney property and the Klein property at 5305 and 5315 Bald Eagle Boulevard West.
I do have one question.
Yes,
There's
sir.
2 variances, right?
Correct.
Do we need to have 2 separate motions, or can we wrap
I would
it up?
think it'd be better to do it as each separate motions.
You could,
Sorry, Steve.
so the resolution does include both in one. Would that be sufficient for one motion?
Yeah, okay, if the resolution as drafted has it as one, as a one, let's just do it as one.
Okay.
But I
so-
think in the future, it'd be prefer to have the variances separate.
Okay, so we'll adopt the resolution approving the variance request for the hard surface driveway within the 10-foot side yard setback.
So that's covering the resolution. I don't know, does that have a number?
Let's
It
see.
could probably be resolution 1.
Okay.
Okay.
I will second that.
All right, motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I am going to vote nay on this, only because I think this is still a problem, and I think this, not maybe this board, but a board in the future is gonna have to deal with this again. We see this too often in the township where these shared driveways just never end up working out. You can have all the legal mumbo jumbo you want on them, but the town ordinance is pretty specific. We don't like sharing driveways because eventually, like HOAs, they fall apart. And I'm just trying to get this on the record because down the road, I want the next board to understand what we're wrestling with to get this through. So motion still carries, you're still ready to go, but I want to make sure that we have this on the record that this is still a tough one to vote yes for. Other than that, thank you, folks. All right, moving on. Item 8A, the Ramsey County Appropriate Response Initiative. Who's going to take that?
That's me. Mr. Chair, I did get this into the board's packet for this meeting in order to have a discussion about whether or not the township was interested in getting involved with ARI with Ramsey County. It does seem to be taking hold with most of our contract communities within Ramsey County. It is a non-budget impact. It is what I would call a pilot program. So we've talked, or you've heard about it a lot in the news about with all the police intervention over the last few years receiving such high coverage or media coverage. There's also been discussion about having trained healthcare professions go to calls that come from 911 dispatch. So I've got this out there for discussion. And if the board is interested in proceeding with it, we should probably make that decision this evening. We've got till June 3rd.
How does it affect us directly?
What do you mean?
I mean, it's basically Ramsey County's plan. It's their 911 call center.
Yep.
So I'm not sure how it affects the township directly.
Well, if you look at the call tree that's in there, you can see what happens with the initial generated call from dispatch. If there's a discussion that entails mental health, drug use, domestic, those kind of things, it goes on down the call chain for a specific professional to come out, meet, and intervene.
Where I got confused is because we don't have our own resources. We contract
Right.
those. So is it more for just endorsement of the process that you're looking for?
Yeah, mostly.
I mean, we could say, no, we don't like it.
Sure.
Doesn't really, it's not going to matter.
If you say you don't like it, typically all of our 911 dispatch calls will be handled strictly by deputies.
Well, we had a Ramsey County commissioner give us a little bit of a spiel on this a couple, 3 months ago.
Yep.
And I was still confused. If you call 911, the 911 operator is going to quiz you to see if they should send a sheriff or a clipboard, basically.
No, I think the initial call from 911 dispatch will generate a deputy no matter what. However, through the conversation or what is brought or is brought through that conversation at dispatch, the decision is made by the dispatcher whether or not a mental health professional is required.
So does the dispatcher then call the resource center for these counselors?
Correct.
Because I think that was one of my questions with the Ramsey County Sheriff when he was here also.
Yeah.
That if I call 911, I don't want somebody deciding I want a police officer. Is that still our choice, right?
Yeah, that's your initial, that is going to be your baseline response will be from a deputy.
Because I understand a lot of these calls eventually are still handled by counselors and caregivers. The problem is, I've been on a few ride-alongs, and those domestic abuse or domestic calls could sound just like, yeah, well, let's just talk it out, but they turn the wrong way.
Sure.
So this makes me nervous.
Look what happened in Burnsville.
Right.
People were sitting down talking and suddenly,
Yeah. I just hope they know what they're getting into by doing this, because I understand the climate right now with everybody pointing fingers, but this does make me a little nervous that this is someone else is going to decide what I need before I get any help.
The way I look at it, though, is actual public safety or deputies who respond to these are under such pressure to make the right decision that sometimes some of them, I think, admittedly, will say they're not qualified to do. And then that's when it really hits the fan. So the way I look at it, and this is just my opinion, folks, through conversations with our community group, is that this is kind of a security blanket for the deputies. And just as an example, I was driving down 96, last week, came up to a bus stop right off of Greenhaven, and there were 3 squads parked on the bike trail because there was a young woman who was in distress. And they all just kind of waited there for her to get it out, and it wasn't going well for them. I think they need the help. And in my opinion, what I witnessed, I observed remarkable restraint. But I see this as an opportunity to help them through those types of things. But
So is this program here being supported by the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department?
it is, yes.
Well, then it makes sense to me, because there's a lot of general public that have a severe distrust of the police officer. And yes, there's always the issue you talked about. But if the sheriff thinks this is another tool in their toolbox to diffuse, deflect, resolve a situation, an endorsement from us is fine. I don't have a problem endorsing it.
And I don't think we're committed beyond this, the pilot part of it, this first part of the year. We'll see what the impact is. And we can always decide that it's not something for us.
Well, I'm just looking out for the welfare of the residents. I want to make sure they get the best coverage from the Ramsey County Sheriff also. And I also noticed this crisis team, they're not medically trained at all. Or most sheriffs at least know CPR and
Sure.
and they have Narcan with them. And,
Yep.
and I didn't see any of that on these crisis teams.
Yeah, a mental health crisis isn't necessarily one that you need paramedics for. You might at some point during whatever that call might end up being. But I think those first responder skills are still in need for a lot of these calls.
Well, if it's true, that's in person, face to face. The responders have a background and training in mental health and receive intensive initial training and ongoing consultation. So I mean, it's not like you and I just coming off the street and going try and resolve these. They've got
Well, and plus too, they work in a pair, which is probably a good thing.
yeah. So
I guess my question would be, I see the response times are currently Monday through Friday, 8 to 10, which kind of leaves out some of the active times.
Sure does.
So I'm guessing that's only because it's a pilot. I would hope.
You know, I think they're going in with just the toes in the water for right now.
So is this a separate division of the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department? They're still Ramsey County Sheriff employees?
Ramsey County employees, yes.
Oh, okay, not the Sheriff's Department though, the county. Steve, got any other questions?
nope.
I'm sure they're gonna have some bumps in the road on this.
Yeah, yeah. Or, we might not have any need for them. I mean, we're, for the most part, pretty low maintenance for right now.
We don't get a lot of calls for.
Yeah, I mean, we just, these types of calls are not frequent for us. But like I said, the climate's changing.
Looking at that the sheriff's logs as part of the public safety team, overwhelmingly, it's people in distress. It's not because there's a burglary going on. There's people in distress. And I got to believe that if you've got a trained professional, a sheriff, a deputy who's trained in neutralizing a situation, that's great. That's their primary focus. If you have an additional person who can assist with somebody who's going through a really bad time, I think it will help both parties. And as long as they're acting, as Ed said, in a pair.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think that pair is counselors. If they call counselor, a sheriff doesn't go, there's two counselors that
You
go.
just said the sheriff always goes.
I think the sheriff may
deputy will
not
go.
enter
The deputy.
it may not enter the residence at
Deputy
the
will
same
go.
time, but they're
okay.
there.
Yeah.
Well,
If I understood it right, they may be outside. They may not come in immediately because,
But they will be on site.
yes.
okay, I didn't get that part of it. Let me reread it.
But there's
Well, that changes the whole
There's no
thing.
budgetary cost.
isn't.
It's a trial.
That's right.
And if the sheriff's behind it, the sheriff's department.
I guess it's not somebody on a phone making a decision, do I send a deputy or do I send a psychologist? They're both going to go.
Correct.
That makes a whole lot more sense, because that's not how we got it from the Ramsey County Commissioner.
I agree.
I thought I made it clear, though. I mean,
You did.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it's Scott, not to me. All right, any other questions?
No.
I need a motion for this resolution approving the Ramsey County appropriate.
I'll make a I'll make a motion to approve the resolution approving the Ramsey County Appropriate Response Initiative, ARI.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, board.
All right, moving on. Town engineer report. This is for, the first one is 2023-2 Mallard Ponds. Larry, you gonna take this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Town Board. We received bids on two projects. The first one we're going to talk about is the Mallard Ponds Improvement Project. For that project, we received 6 bids last week, and the low bid was from North Valley Incorporated for a base bid price of $2,841,913.50. For reference, our engineer's estimate was just over 3.2 million. The bids were very close. The next bidder was roughly $40,000 more, which on a nearly $3 million bid, that's fairly tight. All the bids were within the range, within a close range, so it was a competitive bidding environment for this project. So we're pleased with the bid results. We're happy with recommending North Valley Incorporated for this project. And so tonight we're just looking for 3 items here. One, receiving the bids. 2, awarding the contract for Mallard Pond Street Improvements Project to North Valley Inc. for a total base bid of $2,841,913.50. And 3, authorizing TKDA to proceed with construction phase services for an amount not to exceed $234,200. The resolution in your packet is missing that last piece, authorizing TKDA to proceed with construction services.
I thought it was free.
Yeah.
If it's missing, then, sorry.
Tried. Guess not.
I think you owe us some pro bono, right?
All right. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Scott? Steve?
We've went over this the other day, last Friday, actually, and the question asked was, North Valley, you're comfortable, you've worked with them before.
They've worked with the township a while ago now, but Dale has a good comfort level with them. I haven't worked with them.
Yeah. No, I don't either.
Well, it's nice to see when it comes in under budget. So So there are no other questions. I need a motion on the first one, is the resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of receiving the bids.
Second.
Motion's made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. Second one, Steve?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution awarding the contract to North Valley, Inc. in the amount of $2,841,913.50.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And then the third one?
There is no.
Well,
You got to authorize.
I'll move to authorize TKD to proceed with construction services in an amount not to exceed $10. Oh, okay. $234,206. Is that what you wanted? Is that the number? We don't have that in front of us, so I wrote
$234,200.
200? Going once?
Yep.
200. So 234,200.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Otherwise, it's coming out of Larry's paycheck.
There you go.
Well, you should be able to cover it.
All right, item C, this is the improvement for 2023-3 Parkview Court.
Yeah, so similarly, bids were received last week for the Parkview Court street improvements. Again, there were 6 bidders, 6 different, I mean, some were the same, but some were different bidders. And similarly, we received really good bids for the project. The low bid was from Miller Excavating in the amount of $439,998.59. And then for reference, our engineer's estimate was $544,350. And for this project, we did add additional hydrant replacements and ditch stabilization to the project. Then the bids themselves were really close again. No bid was over 500,000. So the 6 bids were between the 339,000 and 500,000. The next bidder was just a small $6,000 more than the low bid for Miller Excavating. Miller Excavating has been working in the township a lot recently. They've been a subcontractor to a number of different contractors that have worked on the southeast area. So we're familiar with them. They are strong. I would say they were a strong subconsultant or subcontractor on those projects. And so we got to know them through those projects, and we feel comfortable recommending them for the project. So again, we're looking for those same resolutions, accepting the bids and awarding a contract to Miller Excavating for the Parkview Court Street Improvement Project for a not to exceed price of $439,998.59. And again, if you could amend your resolution to authorize TKDA to proceed with construction-based services in an amount not to exceed $51,500.
Patrick, how does that work? Will there be a resolution written up and entered
Into the minutes.
later?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We gotcha.
It could be added to this resolution
Well,
awarding the contract.
yeah, and like I said, we could just amend it to show in the minutes. You'll be fine.
All right, any other questions of the board? I know we've been over this for some time now, so it's kind of familiar with all of us.
Yep.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I guess our engineering firm is a little expensive on their bid process, but it's happy to see that they all came in much different than what we were thought. So I'll move to adopt a resolution to receive the bids.
Second.
Motion's made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll move to adopt a resolution awarding the contract to Miller Excavating, Inc. in the amount of $439,998.59.
Second.
Motion's made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Last one, Steve?
I'll move to authorize TKDA to proceed with construction services for an amount not to exceed $51,500.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, moving on. Item D is the White Bear Lake Flex Space LLC. Evan, you taking that one?
I thought the TV was going to work this time. Maybe it won't cooperate for this one, but you do have all the materials in your packet, so I guess you don't necessarily need the PowerPoint. But you may recall this request from last year. There is a vacant parcel at the intersection of Otter Lake Road and White Bear Parkway. It does not have an address yet, but it was recently purchased by an applicant, formerly Pine Ridge Hillside LLC. They are now WBL Flex Space LLC. They're proposing to do what they are proposing as flex storage, essentially warehousing or warehouse use under our zoning ordinance. This parcel is zoned industrial and also within the shoreline management overlay zone. You may recall last year they submitted a couple variance requests. Those were both approved. They also submitted what's called a permitted use standards permit for a site plan showing a development with a few different buildings and then parking surrounding said development. Those were approved back in August of 2023. Since then, the applicant has been working to construct on the site. Due to the soil conditions on the east side, though, they are now revising their site plan. They've added what is a second stormwater basin on that east side, and then reduced the number of buildings and total storage units on the site, actually resulting in a lower impervious surface coverage than what was proposed initially last year. So part of the amendment is to include those revised plans. That includes a new concept plan, site plan, and drainage plan. Most of the other items on the building will remain the same, such as the building height, materials, and then the landscaping was revised slightly to match the new site layout. There is exterior lighting proposed on the site. That has not changed from last year as well. Included in your meeting materials should be both the site plan from last year as well as the site plan being proposed before you today. The initial one in 2023 had 5 buildings on the site. They are now shrinking that down to 4 buildings. That 5th building on the site is essentially being replaced with a stormwater basin, and then some of the buildings further on the west side are now being widened to accommodate some of those units that were previously allocated on the east side. In addition to the new plans, we sent those for review for comments. Final drainage and utility plans would still be required for submittal and approval prior to issuance of any building permits. That was still a condition from last year that would remain in this new permit. A new amendment recommended by Public Works was to include a signed maintenance agreement for stormwater to make sure that was to be received by the township prior to the issuance of a CO. That is shown as 7B in the redlined permitted use standards permit before you tonight. It is also included in those conditions of approval. The Planning Commission did review this at their April meeting. They recommended approval with the following conditions. The project plans before you tonight are to be included into the new permit by reference. Again, those are shown in that red line permit before you tonight. To the applicant would be updated on that permit to read their new name, WBL Flex Space LLC. 3 final plans for stormwater and utilities shall be submitted for review and approval prior to building permit issuance. A signed maintenance agreement, as mentioned earlier, for stormwater would have to be received prior to the issuance of a CO. 5, the applicant shall adhere to any other conditions of the existing permit use standards permit, and then ultimately the applicant will still have to pay any fees or escrows associated with this request. Again, you have the following options tonight. You can approve the request, deny, or table for further review. And I would note that the applicant is here tonight to also answer any questions you have directly.
Pat?
I would like to commend the write-up because you've got hyperlinks to our earlier meetings, and that made it much easier.
Very high tech
snappy.
nowadays.
Very high tech. Actually, I read through it. It made sense. Thank you for the links to the earlier meetings because I was able to reread the notes or the minutes and refresh my memory, so I actually don't have any questions.
Wow.
Did you say?
Wow.
Well,
I don't.
Evan, now you're saying this is a preliminary, so that this isn't a construction, the plans aren't quite done.
I mean, they could amend them again in the future, so.
And now okay, refresh my memory, how did they lose 2 units? They took out one building and added the units to the other ones?
Correct. So some of the other buildings were a little bit smaller previously. They reconfigured the layouts of those and then essentially replaced the building on the east side with a stormwater basin.
And now the parking is still not an issue, correct?
Correct.
They added more stormwater from the east, reduced the.
Has Valamo seen
surface.
this?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I got. The applicant wish to add or say anything else to this or not? Oh, I don't think so. Okay. All right, there are no other questions of the board.
All righty. Back up here. So,
I'm looking for the page with all the conditions. Is that what, 125?
Should be 128 as the
28?
clean copy of the permit, and then
Okay. That's just, I don't think we got to read them all as long as we note that those were in there.
I think that's the amended.
yeah, you have a redlined copy showing the additions, and then following that is just the clean one for reference.
All right,
Ready?
ready to make a motion, Steve?
Sure. I'll move to approve the amendment to the permitted use standard permit that's in the package. The clean copy is part of the minutes.
Second.
Just a question of Chad. Does it matter because of the name change of the business?
If I remember correctly, the name change occurred before the purchase. Before the purchase was completed. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's what I remember.
Okay.
So no, it doesn't make any difference.
All right. All right, motion's made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. All right, item E, which we're gonna miss. We're not gonna do it. We have to accept Supervisor Scott McCune's resignation. With a D part, we're gonna miss you.
Thank you.
You've been a great addition to the board and to the residents in the town.
Thank you.
Happy trails.
I have a question for the attorney. Is it at this point when I can grant a blanket amnesty to whoever I want in the township?
You've resigned, so you've lost all power.
You're done.
Well, they haven't voted to accept it yet.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you still have a few
All
seconds.
right.
Well played, sir.
I bet you, it was your wife, right? We have a copy of the letter in the minutes.
Yep.
So we need a formal motion to accept it, I believe.
You and me, huh?
Yep.
With deep regret, I'll move to accept the Supervisor McCune's resignation.
And that would be dated as of tonight.
May 15th, 2024. Well, actually, it's today. Its email was that date, but it's effective May 20th, 2024.
All right, I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You gonna abstain?
I'm abstaining.
And then we're gonna have to turn right around and swear in your replacement.
No, he's my successor because nobody.
Okay, you got a point, yeah. Mr. Tom Redessel.
All right. So, repeat after me, sir. I, Thomas Redessel. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge my duties as a town board supervisor
faithfully discharge my duties as a town board supervisor
of the Town of White Bear,
Town of White Bear,
in the County of Ramsey and the State of Minnesota,
in the County of Ramsey and the State of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Father Patrick, welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Tom.
Speech?
All right, do you have to get out of that chair and let Tom sit down?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No.
All right, we have no added agenda items. This is open time. If anybody'd like to come up to the podium, you got anything? Wait for your press. Just state your name and address for the record.
Logan Guion, 12599 Europa Avenue North, White Bear Lake, but the physical address is Hugo. I wanted to bring an update on a matter of grave importance. Many weeks ago, one of the supervisors, who will remain nameless, brought to the attention of my editor that there had been a typo in their name spelling. I won't say who it is, but a Z had been accidentally replaced with an S. But I do want you to know action has swiftly been taken. And I believe that my word processor has learned everyone's spellings. Even yours, Mr. McCune. Not that it matters much. Hopefully it won't matter much.
Now you're gonna have to add in Redetzel.
Yeah, I
That's
think
not an easy
so.
one either.
I think so. Yes, and also I wanted to personally congratulate Mr. McCune and wish him well on his successor. Also, a special thanks to Chad. He helped me with a porta potty issue last week, if that makes sense. There was an abbreviation that he was able to clarify, but the notes are much clearer, and the porta potty issue was properly reported, I believe, and you will see it this Wednesday.
Well done, Chad.
Yeah.
I always remember what I said.
I asked what is it, UFI stood for?
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
And I Googled it, and the first thing was uniform something pulse, and it was like a federal thing. So I was a little nervous. I was like, "What? I better ask Chad." And
UFP.
he said, "No, it's United Forest," and
Yeah.
a little anticlimactic, but there we go. I think that's everything. So,
All right, thanks. Thanks, Logan. Anyone else? Seeing none. Item 11, I need a motion to receive agenda materials and supplements.
So moved.
All second, all in favor?
Aye.
You're voting now, Tom.
Don't let the power go to your head, Tom.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn at 7:47.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.